Alright, hello to you. Welcome back to the Songwriter Series, the second in this series. And I want to welcome you to the YouTube channel. To all you, the ones on Facebook, YouTubers, thank you for the subscriptions. And please like and share and comment. That way it gets out and more people can find this and hopefully help them out as well. Of course, we did the introductory video last time, and I spoke about the things we're going to talk about in these videos. So this first one, I'm calling it Finding Your Muse, and it's really talking about finding your inspiration. Muse, the word muse actually comes from the Greek word musa, and it does mean inspiration. It even has roots, the word itself has roots in the mind, and using the mind, the memory as well. So it has a lot to do with that. In Greek mythology, there were the Muses. There were three Muses, and these were three daughters of Zeus by I can't remember her name right now, but he had an affair with this lady, and as the mythology goes and as the story goes, and they had three girls, and they became known as the Muses. And each of these three girls gave inspiration to people, to the mortals, depending on what it was. But each girl, one girl, they were divided into three. You had the literature, which was your books and your writings, basically all the stories and such that are written in book form. Then you have the sciences, discovering, giving inspiration to discovering all the things in the physical world and how they operate. And then our focus is on the arts. The last muse gave inspiration into the arts: dance, music, theater. And so when I say finding your muse, it's kind of a play on that, but you'll hear many people talking about trying to find their muse, and it can just be translated to inspiration. That's really what it is. I mean, where do you find your inspiration? How do you find your inspiration? Many people have different methods of doing that. For me, doing a lot of gospel writing, of course, my inspiration is from God, of course. God of the universe, Jesus Christ, and those type of things. So that's one aspect of finding inspiration. But inspiration can be found everywhere and in anything, and you can find it in people. You find a person. It could be family. Someone in your family inspires you. Whether countless songs have been written for mothers and several for dads, and some that come to mind are like Diamond Rio's "Mama, Don't Forget to Pray for Me." In bluegrass, mothers are very much a part of the songs. Mother's not dead, she's only a-sleepin'. Memories of mother and dad. All these songs inspired by a family member. And so you have countless songs about family. I wrote a song several years ago, probably 5 or more years ago. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, it's been 7 years. Anyway, I wrote it about my sister, and because I had a dream. It was the dream that I had a dream that she had died, and I didn't have a chance to tell her that I loved her. And when I woke up from that dream, I was still crying. I was crying and sad, and realized, what if we don't really tell people that we love them enough? And what if someone died and you weren't able to say you loved them? And so the name of the song is "While You're Here," and it's actually on my channel here in the playlist. So if you can find that, "While You're Here." So basically, while you're here, let me tell you I love you. You know, and I'm talking to my sister basically about that. And so she really inspired that song. And even though the song, even though it's not all about her, it's inspired by her, and showed me, you know, we need to say that we love you while you're here on this earth, while you're living. It's like that old song, give me my flowers while I'm living instead of waiting till I die. So family is definitely an inspiration. And then you have your friends, of course, something your friends might have done, and even just the actual thought of having friends can inspire it. I can think of songs like the hit that came out in the 80s, Dionne Warwick, and I forget all who was there, but you know, they came out with that song. Even Michael W. Smith came out with a song in Christian contemporary music, friends, and so there you have that. People, historical people. There are many historical people you could write about, and many songs have been written about people in history. Jesse James, wow, just, you know, all kind of people, and so that's a definite inspiration. You can find a song in reading a story about what a person did in history, you know. And so then you have religious people, you know, people in religion, you know. And when I talk about that, I'm not talking about writing about popes and all that, not being inspired, even though that could happen. You could be inspired by something the Pope did, or something someone in your community did, in the name of Jesus, for instance. But religious figures in, you know, that have been songs about Moses and David and Goliath, even Adam and Eve. You know, there have been songs written that were inspired by what they did or who they were. Joshua, for instance, comes to mind. There's the old gospel song Joshua, and talking about the Lord told Joshua to go to Jericho and march 7 times around. He followed faithfully, and the blessed Lord commanded, and the walls came tumbling down. You see, and so that's one. There's a lot of songs about Moses. One that Tim O'Brien does called Simply Moses. It's a great song, great bluesy type number. And of course, Jesus. Of course, you're going to have songs about Jesus. And I would bet probably one of the most written about people. You know. And so there's all kinds of religious people, family, friends, historical figures, religious figures you can write about. And so you may find your muse, your inspiration from that. Next you have places, and we're kind of covering all nouns here: people, places, things. Places could be either right here, right in your own home, you know, writing about home. There's so many songs written about the home life and about coming back home. I wrote a song called I'm Home, and it was kind of inspired just by well, it was actually a project me and my brother decided we'd try, and we just started writing and it came out that way. But so sometimes songs don't start out with an inspiration, but they eventually turn into one, because as we were writing, we decided we wanted to talk about mom and dad and all that, and so it became I'm Home, talking about being home and never roaming again, you know, finally coming back home. How about Green Grass of Home? You know, that's a song, Green Green Grass of Home. No Place Like Home, The Old Home Place. Just so many songs that are written about home. And then of course you have, as you expand out into your local area, into your region, to where there's places historical, you know, significant. Like here in Trenton, we are very near, well, there's so many places around here you could write about. One place that comes to mind is Chickamauga Battlefield, the battlefield in the Civil War. Cloudland Canyon, you could write about that, how beautiful it is. And it is beautiful during the fall, and it's beautiful all the time, but you know, just places around you that inspire you to write a song that may give you an idea, you know. And then and that was my computer restarting. But and then you have you even expand further out and have world, you know, places around the world that may inspire you. You may write about Israel, or being in Georgia, you could write about Texas. How about Abilene, first town I've ever seen. But so you have all these places, you know. So many. I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head, but I'm sure that you could sit there and, if you really put your mind to it, and think about several places that have been written about. And so yeah. And then of course, as you expand out further and think about the world, not just actual places or geographical locations, towns, cities, countries, but the actual terrain, the geological places, mountains, streams, plains. There's so many songs written about mountains, you know, those wonderful mountains. Matterhorn, it was written about the Matterhorn. Yeah, just so many mountain songs, and not necessarily about a specific mountain, but about the mountain you live in, you know, coming back to your mountain home. Blue Ridge Mountains, that's a standard bluegrass song, you know. Blue Ridge Mountain Home. Blue Ridge Mountain Blues, you know. So many Blue Ridge songs. And then you have, you know, things about the plains and the valleys and the streams, rivers. One song that comes to mind, it's the Yellow River in Georgia. It was written about, that Noel Austin and Quicksilver recorded, and it was a good song. So many places and people. And of course, as you get further, of course we talked about home and all that, but there may be a place that's very personal to you, you know, whether it's where you're born or where you got married or whatever, you know. That place may inspire you to write a song about it. And then of course you have things, and there's all kind of things. I mean, it'd take 50,000 videos to list all the things that you could write about. Some things come to mind, like trucks, farm equipment. She thinks my tractor's sexy. Pickup man. Then you have other items like golden rings. You remember that old song, talking about rings, and that inspired, that story around that ring inspires you. Story around a truck or a vehicle, or will inspire you. And so yeah, you have all these things, and then you have situations, and there's countless situations that could happen that would inspire you. That includes weddings, you know, marriages, death, burials, births, accomplishments, failures, and there's just all kind of things like that. You could, of course, countless songs written about love found, love lost, you know, those kind of situations. Any situation in your life can inspire you in some way, and it may turn into a happy song, but many times it turns into something pretty sad and heartbroken blues, you know. Now whether or not you may write pop songs, you know, that's going to be a little different, but there's still those sad moments, and a lot of love songs in general are going to be found in every culture, every genre of music, but it seems to, you're not going to write usually about trucks in pop music. That's going to kind of stay with country and maybe some bluegrass, but just depending on what genre you're writing in. And you may, as for me, which since I'm more bluegrass music background and country music, I tend to write about country things. But I have in the past written things that went around with rock, because love songs can be done in any genre, as I said. And so, you may have a love song that you get inspired by love, whether it's love lost or love found. I'll tell you a particular situation that happened that inspired me to write a song called Too Many Lies. And at the time I was working kind of a third shift. We got off work at 3 a.m. in the morning. Of course, a.m. is morning, right? But 3 a.m. and living on Lookout Mountain, Georgia at the time. I was going up Lookout. I was going up the road, up the mountain, and when I turned the curve, there was a car on the side, and I had to come around him. But there was a man, and he was leaned up against it with his arms crossed, just staring out into the dark. I mean, it was just, very dark, not a lot of moon that night. And he was just leaned up on there and staring out into the dark, and you could see this look on his face like, man, And I knew, as soon as I saw that and seen him, I knew something happened. And as I walked on up, and I didn't walk up, as I drove on up, and I turned another corner, another curve, there was this woman. She had her bag in her hand, and she was just walking with her head down. And I immediately knew what had happened. I knew that it's like that Muse, that inspiration hit me. They just had a tough fight, a breakup, and by knowing how he looked, I knew that it was probably his fault. And of course, it's always get philosophical. It's usually both person's fault, but a little bit. But anyway, I wrote that song, and I just, I told the story as she turns to go. Matter of fact, that's one of the particular ones I remember with that kind of story. So as I drove on, I started getting these words in my head and putting the story together. And by the time I got home, I had kind of a melody and all that in place, And I hadn't planned this, but since I've talked about this, I'm going to sing it for you. Since I'm there, I might as well. No country song. As she turned to go, he said, I'm sorry. I know our love isn't really what it should be, and I know I've said some things that have hurt you, but I'd give anything make you see that I love you, and I know I'll always need you, and the plans we made will work out sometime, but give me the chance to prove feelings I have for you, and try to forgive me for too many lies. They parted ways right there on the roadside. She just kept on walking, not really knowing where she'd go. And as she disappeared into the early morning darkness, the only thing left was a memory of a love gone cold. And he knew a love like this comes once in a lifetime. You could tell he knew by the look in his eyes. He just watched her walk away. He didn't know what else to say, 'cause all he'd ever told her were too many lies. Yeah, he just watched her walk away. He didn't know what else to say, 'cause all he'd ever told her were too many lies. So yeah, that was inspired by that situation, you see. And you never know when a situation is going to happen, and it just hits you. You never know when that's going to happen, and you see this situation, you drive like me. I mean, I was just driving into that situation, didn't even know it until I turned that curve, and there he was, and then the other curve, and there she was. And so that situation inspired that song. And you know, that inspiration comes when you least expect it, really. And it can be love lost like that. It can be, I even inspired, that brings me to my next point. You could even be inspired by another song. You know, you could hear something in that song that inspires you to write something else that kind of goes along with it. The reason I say that brings me to that is because I have thought about writing a Too Many Lies Part 2, I guess you'd say. You know, and it would be, I would make it a happy ending to where he finally gets in his car and drives up there, and they make amends and reconcile with each other. And so even with another song, you could be inspired. Any situation. So what are we talking about? Inspiration can be found in just about anything. Not just about, it can be found in anything. It can be found in a word that someone says to you, and you know, in the people, places, things, situations in your life. As a songwriter, you want to be more open to those things as well, instead of just kind of barreling through life like most people do. As a songwriter, we're more open to things that are going on around us, and we see those things more sensitive, I guess is a better word. We're more sensitive to those situations that happen, to the people, places, and things in our lives, because inside here we're wanting to express what we feel about things. And so when those situations happen, or we think of a person or someone inspires us, it starts turning into a song with us. And so when that happens, see, we want to draw in that muse, that inspiration, and turn it into a song. Comes into us as an inspiration of something that happened, and hopefully inspires us and starts burning inside us. As a songwriter, that starts burning inside you and kind of moving around, and it affects your mind and your heart and your soul until it becomes words and music flowing out of you. Now, some may not write music. You may just write the lyrics, which that's fine, you know. But that inspires you to start writing words and putting words down on paper, or in today's age, typing it on the computer. But at any rate, those things inspire you. But I've said all that to say this, really. All in all, you're looking around trying to find some kind of inspiration. The truth is, honestly, that you don't find inspiration, it finds you. You don't find your muse finds you. And so that's something to think about. And how does that happen? You just like I said, you be open, be sensitive to what's going on, and allow that gift that you've been given by the Almighty God, the Creator. Just allow it to blossom within you as you hear something or are inspired by it, and just allow it to come through you and flow into you and through you until it becomes words on a piece of paper or a melody in your heart, and then onto the music that the instrument that you play. And so that is finding your muse. You don't find your muse finds you. Alright. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. I've rambled enough, I believe, and I hope it's helped you understand something about that. Maybe give you some ideas about starting. That's really the first process, is to do that and be inspired. And really nothing you do. Like I said, it's just something that happens to you most of the time. But if you're wanting to write a song and you're not inspired by anything, you just look through all the situations in your life, all the people, the places, things, situations, and I'm pretty sure if you dig deep and look, you're going to find something that will inspire you. Okay? Well, thank you very much for watching this. We'll do the next one. Hopefully next week I'll have another one up by Saturday. And I think the next one is about song fishing, if I'm not mistaken. That's about reaching in and grabbing, once you have that inspiration, grabbing and finding that hook line and the things that are going to make that song what it is, So I'm checking my notes. Yes, find song fishing. But there you have Finding the Muse, and we'll talk about song fishing. If you like this video, please click the like button. Please comment. If you have questions, please ask them. And don't forget, up there, subscribe, and you'll be able to keep track when I upload the next one. And please do so. Thank you very much, and God bless you.